Hey there.
Hey, we like to talk about that handsome fella here.
First, disclaimer. I am not in favor of the bannings of these cards here, but I certainly understand why people don't like them. So, before we talk about Dockside, if you haven't read the statement for these bans, please do so, because I will heavily lean into the statement being made. The ex-Rules Committee wanted to slow down the whole format for people who like more social games, and they wanted to encourage that. You may agree or disagree with that philosophy. I think we get the point here. But does it really apply to all three cards? If you start with one of these three, you can outperform a whole table. These three cards could possibly result in a so-called non-game. What are non-games, you might ask? These are games in which only one player really gets to play the game and wins fast, while the other players only try to catch up. Oh, wait, I almost forgot. That card is not banned. Soaring is not banned. Well, apparently because it's iconic.
Well, to some people, Dockside is iconic.
But sure, Soaring is more iconic than the other ones. But is that a strong argument? I'm not calling for a Soaring ban, but practically it is almost the same as a Mana Crypt. Some might say even better. Budget players were mostly complaining about the price of these cards before being banned. Many players who are happy for these bans still happily play Soaring. People even call out expensive cards all the time, but Soaring is almost never called out. Think about it for a moment. Argument: everybody has the chance to draw a Soaring, since it's an almost auto-include in every deck. Argument: it comes in a precon, the others don't.
This one came in a precon.
Well, just in one, to be honest.
And whose fault is that?
Okay, we'll talk about that later. These three cards are basically the same. They are especially devastating during the first 3 turns. As I said, I don't mind this pattern, but it's like rolling a dice to decide which player gets that advantage. Let's add Dockside Extortionist to the equation. What does a Dockside do during the first 3 to 5 turns? The answer depends on the power level of your table, and we should differentiate. At a high power table or CEDH table, it will most likely win you the game, or push you hard towards a win. But what about a mid-power, precon, or even lower powered level pot? It will probably generate 3 or 4 treasures during the early game state. Don't get me wrong, this is absolutely strong and powerful. But a player could also wait for a later turn to cast Dockside, or wait till the mid or end game, when players already have developed their boards farther. In any case, it is not creating non-games. People who want to break the game do it with or without Dockside. The questions you should really ask: what's the power level of the commander itself? What's the power level of the whole deck? Dockside is broken in a broken deck. If an opponent plays high power or borderline CEDH, like a 5-color good stuff pile. Some say Dockside is too strong against artifact and enchantment decks. Yeah, too strong against the most powerful archetypes in Commander. Just to name a few: Breya, Sisses, Tuvasa, Urza, Go Shintai. To be fair, these are high power, borderline CEDH commanders for sure, even if you try to build them fair. But in the wild you will run into these decks and play against these powerful decks for sure. And I think against these powerful decks, a Dockside is pretty fair. People go infinite too easy. Well, there are many infinite combos. Where do you start to ban combo cards? You can have a rule 0 conversation if you dislike infinite combos. Just say it. Which brings us back to the points already made. If you play a combo focused deck, it's just one combo. By banning one card that goes infinite, nothing much is won here. So there are still a million combos. Aside from infinite combos, Dockside is very powerful, as I stated before. Games can end quickly, but there are at least 2 requirements to make that happen. Many artifacts and enchantments under your opponent's control to create a ton of treasures. And of course many cards in your hand to spend these treasures on. Or other card advantage, like casting cards from exile or from your graveyard. You know what I mean. Are there any similar cards in Commander? Yes, of course. What about Gaia's Cradle or Growing Rites of Idlamok? Idlamok Cradle of the Sun, aka Gaia's Cradle 2. If you have a full board of creatures, it can create a similar amount of mana or even more. It will do the same thing each of your turns, not just once. For Growing Rites, you have to wait till your end step. But you have to meet strict requirements, as you also have to meet when playing Dockside to get the most out of it. You need a full board of creatures, and also the cards to sink that mana into. Maybe a Craterhoof or another powerful overrun effect, like Triumph of the Hordes. Speaking of these, they remind me of Dockside as well. You play one of these, and you may take a whole table out. Or, in some cases, just 1 or 2 players. But that should be enough to highly increase your chances to win. Well, you could argue that Dockside is even worse than the mentioned cards. For what if your opponents don't play a lot of artifacts or enchantments? If you play the mentioned cards, you can make it almost certain that you always have enough creatures, since you build your own deck around these cards, don't you? These cards make you win the game always in the same way. Of course you can do that with Dockside, with Blink, Copy or Reanimation spells. A Dockside with infinite combo is similar, but that excluded, a Dockside win is never the same. It just highlights what your deck wants to do. Maybe to cast some mana expensive spells to close out a game, or your favorite overcosted spell. Maybe people complain too much about winning a game or how to win a game. What do you think? Argument: many decks without infinite combos just got worse, like Mono Red, Boros, Izzet and some Mardu decks. Not all of them, of course. You still have access to treasures. Think about different playgroups. Like, what about playgroups with lower power? Also consider different countries. In Germany, so many people were really surprised that Dockside got banned. Me included. Okay, once or twice I heard harsh critique on YouTube. I thought, well, you could surely abuse a Dockside in a high power deck. I guess these players only play in higher power pots. So, I never have seen it coming. A friend of mine bought the whole deck where Dockside was included for 25 euros at our local game store. Dockside was his most expensive card. He only plays mid-power and doesn't even play fetchlands or other expensive cards. But he loved his Dockside. It gave him an edge. It really helped to play his favorite pet cards. People bought the Precon or Dockside for very cheap early.
Well, one of the reasons why people are happy about the ban was the price. Sol Ring is dirt cheap, about $1. The other 3 are not. This fellow is too expensive for the average player. Did you know that it was a $5 card when it came out? You could buy a copy for about $5 even around a year later. You could buy one for 10 to 15 bucks. In fact, you could buy the whole deck for around 25 euros here in Germany. The high price was Wizards' fault in the first place, since they missed a substantial reprint, which means a reprint in another Precon or a reprint at rare level. It was reprinted as a Mythic in Double Masters 2022. Not fun fact. Did you know that they increased the average number of Mythics in a booster set over the years? That means you are less likely to open chase cards. A Mythic reprint in a special set, like an overpriced master set, won't bring down the price. And think how they bumped up so many mythic slots with bulk. When I read they would reprint Dockside as a mythic, I knew that wouldn't have almost any effect on the price. Guess what happened? Only a few weeks later, the card was back to the high price level. Why the unbanning for Dockside is a great idea for Wizards. 2 words. Consumer confidence. It came in a precon. This is now the only precon that is not legal in Commander.
Hey, don't forget about trade secrets from 2011 from the precon Political Puppets. We like puppets.
So, true precons are not legal in Commander.
I personally was very upset, mostly because of the Dockside ban. To be honest, to a certain degree, I can understand the banning of Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus. But the Dockside ban hit me hard. I even stopped playing for a few months. I accept if Wizards don't unban Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt and Dockside at the same time. But to ban Dockside is even harder for me as a Sol Ring ban. How would you feel if one of your favorite cards got banned? So please unban it. Dockside did nothing wrong.